and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So, darling.
Good morning, everybody. Here we are.
Morning,
Me and Kim are here
morning.
with you. This is Kimberly Morgan.
Good to see everyone today.
And I'm Danny Mack, and we are coming to you today to stand by you. We want to stand by you today. You may be here and you're going through any kind of life challenge. It could be that you've had the loss of someone special. It could be that you're just transitioning from your home that you were living in and you've come to live here. It could be that you're having health issues. It could be that you're just having a hard time in life. Kim, do you ever just have a day that you have hard times?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I have days that I have a hard times.
Sure.
I know it's hard to imagine that I have hard time days, but I do. I have days that are very difficult. And so I thought today we would share with you 6 places in your life where you want to make sure you're having wellness. And so when we think about wellness, we want to think about, it's not, oftentimes we look at it physically, and that is an important part, and that's the first place we're going to look at today. But there's more to wellness than your physical health. So I'm going to be sharing with you about that, and Kim will be sharing with you about it as well, and we'll be talking to you. So the first place, let's just start with physical wellness. And so, if we're not doing well physically, we're going to feel bad emotionally, and we're going to feel bad mentally. Mm-hmm. And when you've had the loss of someone special, like if you've had the loss of a husband or a wife, or the loss of loss of a child, many of you are losing brothers and sisters, and could be that you have friends. I have some friends that I'm kind of closer to than some of my family. That when my friends die, it's going to be a difficult time for me, and so sometimes physical wellness is important, and so because you have to make sure that you're taking care of your health physically. So here's the first thing you do. You need to ask yourself, have you been keeping up with your doctor's appointments? So you need to make sure if you have doctor's appointments, your yearly checkup, or any kind of regular doctor visit you're supposed to be doing, you need to make sure you're keeping up with that and taking your medications. Because oftentimes when you're having a hard day, it's easy to skip the medication.
Right.
I have done that. With medications that I take, I'll go through my day and I'll go, oh man, I didn't take my medication this morning. What was I thinking? And so I find that a lot of people also, they don't eat well.
Right.
Some people, whenever they're going through a hard time, they don't eat, but some people overeat. I'm an overeater. I'm sure Kim takes it to the Lord when she's stressed, but I take it to Domino's. Pizza helps me to feel
Pizza
better.
helps everybody.
Yeah. And so you need to be looking at yourself physically and getting some exercise. Oftentimes, whenever we are going through a stressful time, what we do is we kind of, I call it hunker in the bunker. You just stay in your room and you just lay there and you watch TV. You don't want to get out of bed, but we need to be getting some exercise. And so it doesn't matter what you're going through. Here's what happens. Your body needs fuel. Always needs food.
Absolutely.
Right? Your body needs rest, and your body needs exercise. It doesn't matter what you're going through because your body still needs it. And so be willing. Now, when I say exercise, I don't mean you have to go work out somewhere, right?
Well, then explain yourself.
Explain what exercise is. It could be just getting up and walking around the campus a little bit, stretching your legs. and don't be thinking this is not the time for you to say, I think I'm going to start walking 2 miles a day. This may not be the time to do that. It's time to just go out and just walk around the campus a little bit, maybe down the hall. It could be just down the hall. You don't have to do a lot. But
Well, and
just begin.
I found too, when you're in that place and you feel like you're just going downward and downward and downward, I think that we all struggle with fatigue.
Yes.
That fatigue is almost overwhelming because it causes you to not really want to get up, not really care about eating or anything. There's a place in your mind that is just so tired and exhausted that it's too much for you to even walk across the room at times.
Yes. Yes. Extreme fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And so so there's a time to get rest, but once you've gotten through that,
Yeah.
you need to start helping yourself to feel better physically. Well, the second area of your life is emotional wellness. So what is your emotional wellness? And this is when it's hard, especially when you had the loss of someone that you love. And here's what I notice. When people are going through hard times, whether it's a grief or just a life transition, no matter what it is, when people ask, how are you doing, what do people usually say, Kim?
I'm okay.
I'm okay. And they say, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing fine. Right? They're not doing fine. And I always say FINE is an acronym for frantic, irritable, neurotic, and exhausted. That's what you're really saying when you say you're fine. And so it's important to admit that you're having emotional difficulty. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I asked them, I said, well, how are you handling what you're going through? And this fella said, well, I don't like it. And I said, I'm looking for a feeling word. Can you give me a feeling word? And he said, well, the feeling word is sad. And so I've noticed that oftentimes when we describe how we're doing, we don't use feeling words. Like a feeling word could be anguish, right? Could be, I'm feeling overwhelmed, right? I'm feeling overwhelmed by what's taking place. So we're looking for feeling words when we're talking about our emotional health. And it's okay to not be feeling it. So we're created by God to have emotions. And so we have emotions, and when we have days that are overwhelming, we have those days where we have an emotional response. So to be thinking about how are you doing emotionally, and what can you do? How can you get support? So Kim, here on our campus, what are some ways that people could get support if they need it?
Well, watching the show would be great.
It's happening right now in front of you.
And get involved. We have so many things. There's people around you that truly you can trust. And you can talk to your life enrichment person and find out, I need a little extra right now. I'm not doing as well as I thought I would be doing. And Danny and I we're available to you. But if you have a close friend, just someone that you can talk to, be willing to allow yourself to just open up just a teeny bit, because I know it's normal to just close up and just go inward and say, I don't want to be around anybody.
Right.
That's real easy to do, and I have a tendency to do that. But I also know that God puts people at the right place at the right time for us when we need it the most. And it could be your neighbor next door. It could be somebody that you saw at lunch the other day that just had a smile and smiled at you. God will show you safe people to be able to share what you're going through, and that we can help each other.
Yes. Isolation it makes all your emotional issues even worse, because you're just there in your room and you have your thoughts that are going on in your mind. And so if you've transitioned from your home to one of our campuses, I just really want to encourage you to take part in an activity, get connected with some people. We have religious services on all of our campus. You could be attending church. And oftentimes when people are having emotional problems, they start skipping church. And they say, well, I just don't feel good enough for church. You know, it's like, well, you know, people think oftentimes when they come to church, all those people in church they have perfect lives, and they're all doing well. But Kim, you know, and I know, those people have problems. Yeah, right? So you're in a room full of people who are having issues. So emotional wellness, be looking after your emotional wellness. And then there's intellectual wellness, and I like the idea of intellectual wellness. And so, especially when you're going through a hard time. So say, you know, this is when you're a little further along, and you've been working through your emotions. But there's a place for intellectual wellness to keep your mind active and to be learning something new. Today on the morning show, we were talking about how we're not getting older. We're just classic people. You know how you have classic cars, you have classic
right.
music.
Yeah.
So I'm classic, you know, and
Almost completely into.
so well, we can always be learning more,
Yeah.
and it's good to have your mind. And so there's so much opportunity on all of our campuses. I believe we have a library that you could check books out and you could read. I encourage you to keep reading. If you get on your computer, there's all kinds of YouTube classes you can take. There's free classes you can watch. I've watched a class on the Civil War. Was a lecture class from Yale University, and it was very interesting, and it gave me perspective on things. And so you can just be learning, keep yourself intellectually active, and it helps your brain to stay active. It helps to offset dementia. That's one of the things they say that helps with not having dementia issues, is to keep your brain active.
Right.
And so you want to be doing intellectual wellness.
I find for me, music is so helpful.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm going through something, one of the first things that I usually will do is find some really good worship music of some sort and put it on and just let everything else be quiet around me and let my mind hear the words that are in this. You know, I have particular songs that really speak to my heart because it helps me to refocus where my thoughts are going.
Yes.
So it'll help me to refocus in listening to the music, and sometimes just instrumental music is great.
Yes.
You know, just to meditate and think about, you know, the things that God has said about you, you know, and the things that would encourage you. But for me, music is at the top of that list, along with, you know, some of the other things that you mentioned. But it is and always has been.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, I can remember songs that just stood out to me, and, you know, all of those were not necessarily Christian songs.
Yeah.
Or bands or anything like that.
No.
But there were certain songs that just spoke to me, and I loved it.
I will admit that Led Zeppelin helps me out. I'll just say that. Led
Well,
Zeppelin.
mine was Journey. And I
Led
loved
Zeppelin
Journey.
2 is the one that I use.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give y'all a tip.
Oh.
On your iPhone and iTunes, you can make a playlist. And I have a playlist that I set up that helps lift my spirits. So they're all songs that are my songs that help me go through difficult times. So when I'm having one of those days, I can play that playlist. See? So if you're not going through a difficult time, you're just watching today, this would be a good thing to do before you go through hard times. But if you're in the midst of hard times, be good to make you a playlist, what you're going to play. And if you're not handy with your iPhone, you could just write down a playlist. Write down, so you're going to listen to those songs whenever you have difficult days. And then the fourth area is social wellness. And here's the thing I want you to think about. Who are the people in your life that you can talk to and you can share your life? Do you have 3 people who are in your life that you can talk to? Think about this. Jesus had the multitudes, then he had the 12, but then he had the 3, Peter, James, and John, who are his inner circles, that were with him in Gethsemane. And they're there when he's going through his hardest times. He had those people with him. So who are those people that are your inner circle people? And they're usually not very many people. They could be like 2 or 3 people. So who are those people? Identify those people for you. And if you don't have them, let's say you don't have those 3 people, I want to encourage you to have the courage to call up some people and say, listen, I'm going through a hard time. And I heard this guy talking on our campus about having an inner circle of people. And I would ask you, could you be my inner circle? Be in my inner circle when I'm going through hard times. You're somebody I could talk to. I'm not asking you to give me advice. I'm just asking you to listen, to encourage me, right? And have inner circle people. Do you have inner circle people,
I
Kim?
do. Yes, I do have my little inner circle of people, and that I can truly share my heart with and know that they're just going to let me say whatever I need to say and not be critical, but just be there to support. Because, sometimes somebody comes to you and wants to talk, and, you spend a lot of time giving your opinion, or you spend a lot of time talking about yourself, when really they're wanting to talk about them.
Yeah.
And so it's important to be a good listener and to know that sometimes, just listen, because you can't fix it.
Yeah.
You can't. I read a book, Fixing You is Killing Me, and it was very true. It was a chapter in this book, and I'm a fixer. I like to fix things. If somebody's hurting, I want to be the one to, what can I do to help, and sometimes there are things that God will put on my heart to do, but there's sometimes we're just being there,
Yeah.
being present, and being a good listener is really what that person needs.
Right.
And one thing I've noticed at our campus, around the Mesquite campus, and I see it at all 3 of them, is that when somebody new moves in, I think that we do a good job, trying to acclimate them. And the residents, we have certain residents that I'll tell you, they'll make anybody feel at home.
Oh, yes.
And so let down your guard a little bit. Get to know
Yes.
some of the people around you that are maybe on your hall, or, be bold enough to get out and do a group activity, because the weather's getting to where it's nice now. And
Yeah.
that's a wonderful way to begin to make relationships and become more social.
Absolutely. And so our next area of wellness is spiritual wellness. Now, there's a difference between being religious and being spiritual. Religious is what you do outwardly. Religious is like a religious thing to do is going to church, perhaps. It's taking part in sacraments. Maybe it's communion. Sometimes all of those things are outward things. Anything that's outward is more in the category of religious. But we're talking about spirituality. And spirituality is being connected to God. And it's possible that whenever you go through difficult times, you begin to discover some of the religious things you've been involved in aren't really working for you. And so it's a time for you to be connected to your spirituality. And so it's a time where you can be honest with God. And you can be just, you probably have questions. Like, I went through a difficult time in my life, and I wrote a letter to God. It was a pretty scathing letter. It was like, Dear God, this is Danny. Where are you? Don't give me any of that Romans 8:28, all things work out together for good stuff. I don't want any of that. This is not good. I'm on your team. This should not be happening to me, right? And so especially when you're going through grief, or you're making a life transition, or you're having a major health issue, you could be thinking, this shouldn't be happening to me. And spirituality is coming to a place where we understand that the difficulties, challenging, even suffering is a part of our life, and making that spiritual connection. And Kim, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have a lot of things that you watch on television, and I know a lot of our folks watch Christian television. But a lot of things on Christian television are, you're going to get wealthy, God's going to heal all your diseases, and you're going to be the head, not the tail. You're going to always be on top. Now, it's true. God does provide for us. It is true that God does heal us. It does true that God helps us overcome difficult times. But he also walks through it with us through financial difficulties. He walks with us through health issues. He walks through us when we're feeling down. So it's coming to that place where you understand you're never separated from God. And maybe connecting to your spirituality is something that you can do. For I found that many people really struggle with their spirituality during this time. So Kim, when you talk to somebody, you're a chaplain, when you talk to somebody that says, I'm wondering where God is in all this, what do you usually tell them?
Well, I always tell them that he's right here. God doesn't go anywhere, and he doesn't leave us, and he doesn't forsake us. That's what his word says.
Yes.
But, you know, sometimes it's the feeling that you're looking for. You know, you want to feel that, where you've maybe been in a place spiritually before, and it was beautiful and wonderful, and you have such faith in God and all those things. But when you go through the valley, you go through that darkness, all of a sudden you feel like you're separating, and where is God, and why, God, why? You know?
Yeah.
And those are things that we get asked all the time, is why?
Yes.
Why, God? You know, and that's an answer that 99% of the time we're never going to get the answer to that question.
Yes.
But it's when you realize is that, where would I be without God? I mean, you ask yourself that question. Where, Lord, I can't walk through this without you. Where would I be without you? And if you take God out of it, there is such an emptiness and a hole. And I mean, you can't walk like that. You know, I like the book of Hebrews where it talks about it was in chapter 11, I believe. Yeah, chapter 11, where it talks about those that died in faith. You know, it went through about half the people in the Old
all the difficulties
Testament.
they went through. Yes.
They died in faith. They died in believing in something, but they didn't necessarily see it come to pass there. And this is where faith is challenged. It's like, okay, well, you know, say your husband died and y'all were like, you know, spiritually connected and one, because the body, you know, we become one when we become married. But all of a sudden, that place of spirituality in your life is gone.
Right.
And it's empty, and there's a void, and you have to re-identify yourself, re-identify your faith, and grow in your faith, because this one, he's not there
Yes.
to be able to help you. And so I think that it's just that real inner, deep personal relationship with the Lord, where we really have to trust in our faith in the things that we do know, because we know that there's a head and there's a heart, and they're confused sometimes.
Yes.
But we have to trust in knowing and just believing that no matter what, I'm going to have faith. No matter what, I'm not going to quit loving the Lord. I'm not going to quit talking to God. I might need to sit down and write that letter Danny talked about. I think that's great.
Yes.
Or you might need to sit down and write a letter to someone that you've lost, and things that you wish you could have said, you know, as if they were there. Those things are releasing that part of you where all of that hurt and pain is. There's a release valve there, I think, that we can help along by the things that we do. And our spirit is the most important thing in the world for us, is that we have the Lord and we know that we have God. And it's not about going to a church. It's about what you believe inwardly.
Absolutely. Well, our last thing that we have, area of wellness, is vocational wellness. Now, this does not mean you go out and get a job, vocational wellness, okay? Because you've left your job to come here, okay? No, vocational wellness is this. It's all the practical things that you have to do. For instance, I was getting gas at a service station one day, and this lady next to me, she asked if I could help her. She was older than me, so she had to be old, right? And so she said, my husband always has put gas in my car, and he died last week, and I don't know how to put gas in my car. Can you teach me how? Wow. Yeah. And so does your husband put gas in your car?
No. We've been married 42 years, and I would just say 3 times because he had to. Because normally if he uses my car, the little red light is always on that says, by the way, you need gas.
Yeah.
So he will put gas in there, but then he fusses at me when he gets back.
Yes. So
I live
vocational
dangerously.
wellness is stuff like, how am I going to put gas in the car? How am I going to get the oil changed? How's the yard going to get mowed? All these things, the roles that this other
Bank
person
accounts,
took care. Yeah,
managing money,
absolutely.
paying bills.
Paying
that you've never
bills.
done before.
Yeah, if somebody else has been doing that, and oftentimes it's not just men who do it for women. Women oftentimes are taking care of the bills and stuff for the men, and you just don't know. And so you have to begin to work on those things. And now it wasn't great that this lady asked a total stranger how to put gas in the car, but you could ask someone.
She sensed your spirit.
Yeah, I guess she did.
She knew you were safe.
I seemed like I was a safe person. And so, but you could ask someone, how can I get help with the things that I do? And I love it when widows ask me, how am I going to get the oil changed to my car? And I said, you're going to do it just like I do it. I take it to the oil change place. And you tell them. And then if they ask you, what kind of oil should I put in? Here's what you say. What do you recommend? Right?
Right.
And then you just let them put that kind of oil in there.
And hope it's right.
And hope it's right. And it usually is. And so, so you can just be out there looking for help. So I hope we've helped you out with giving you a lot of ideas about what you can do. And go through, look at these different areas of wellness in your life to make your life better. The one thing we want you to know here at Christian Care, that we're here to stand by you. And you can get in touch with Kimberly Morgan or Danny Mack. You could call us at 972-686-3753. You can ask your life enrichment person to get in touch with us. You can ask anybody on your campus. They know how to get in touch with us. And so we want to stand by you. Do not suffer in silence. Do not suffer alone. We are here to be able to help you. We want to stand by you. So you guys have a great day today. And remember this, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So have a great day.
Be afraid just as long as you stand by me. So darling.